Hello everybody. Today is another look at the Berzerk game, and you can see I do have the monitor put in. The reason I did that is my friend Todd, the reason I did it off camera I should say, is my friend Todd stopped over and offered to help me hold it in place while I bolted it in, and I just went ahead and took him up on it and did not film it. So the monitor is in, and it is the G07 that I used to use over here on my test. And what I did was I pulled this sharp image out of my junk pile and recapped it and dialed it in as good as I could. This tube is really not very good. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not even 100% sure that this is the actual tube that was in it. It may be. It's got some kind of burn in it. I can't tell exactly what it is. But it's not got a very good picture, but it's good enough, and it does the job. And it's a 100-volt monitor. It's just like the Nintendo. It's a 100-volt, so I have to use it in my 100-volt outlet, which means it's perfect for a test bench, because we don't need to mess with this 100-volt stuff. As you can see, I'm working on asteroids. I just fixed a deflection board. The Y circuit was really unstable and jittery. The linearity is still off a little bit. You can see how towards the edges the the asteroids shrink. You can see this. See them start to shrink. It's not terrible, but it could be a little bit better. Yeah, so yep. So what I would like to do with this thing next is probably put a cord on it and work on the control panel, because this thing is just set over. It's just set over the control panel. So I have to actually take this one completely apart and kind of transfer everything over to this, or transfer this over onto this, and remove like this button, this white button right here, which it's got cigarette burns on it. Yeah, these buttons are pretty ugly. I don't really have replacement buttons though, so these are just going to have to do. I guess I'll use this orange one and this green one up here, because these white ones are both cigarette burnt. Pretty ugly. So for the time being, I'll just use those. And then the red ones are the fire buttons. So yeah, I want to go ahead and get this thing squared away. Get the control panel on it, get a power cord on it. And this board set needs work. It's got a cap just hanging. That blue cap right there is just kind of hanging out. So this board set really needs, the power supply needs work anyway. The board set, I don't even know if it works. And I know I've said I do have a power supply, or I have a complete working board set. But I don't want to, I'd rather just keep that around. I want to get this one working. So that's what we're going to do with this. Is we're going to fix this board set, make sure it's working. First thing I'm going to do is rebuild the power supply. And yeah, power cord, control panel ready to go, and we'll be ready to fire this thing up for the first time, which will be super exciting. I've already got the monitor all wired. Yep, it's all ready to go. Cool. Alrighty. Yeah, I cleaned the glass up. I got the shroud on there. I did not have this little decal. Eventually I'll do that. I got the marquee kind of loosely in. You can see I don't have the screws all the way down in case I have to fix the marquee light, which I probably will, I'm sure. So first things first, I want to work on this control panel. Okay, well, I got the control panel all taken apart. Here's my poor destroyed Berzerk panel. They drilled the holes in it, so that is just destroyed. Yeah. So here's the wood, which is in great shape. Looks really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get me some angle head screws and countersink them into here. That way the panel will lie flat on here, and I'll use those bolts that were being used, the original bolts that were being used here. I will use them in the original spots. So I'll have all the original carriage bolts, all those guys, and yeah, that'll work out well. So I'll put a little bit of a countersink on these holes for the Wicco joystick, and yeah, get me some screws to go down in there to hold that joystick in place. Looks like just like, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 5/8 inch screws. It's nicely routed out, so that's really nice. So yeah, it'll fit in there good. It'll work good. So we'll do that, work on those, and clean up some of the buttons that I'm going to reuse. I'm going to reuse these, and I'm going to reuse the red ones. These ones are absolute garbage, cigarette burns and stuff. I don't believe I have any buttons around here. I might. I'll check and see if I have any around here. Yeah. I think these red ones, that's just paint. I think these ones will clean up well. So we'll see. We'll see what I got. Okay, and I have nice bevels put into the wood here. The screw head will sit nicely in there, flat beneath the surface of the wood, so that the panel will sit flat, and then I'll have the original bolts going through the original holes on the panel. So these will be completely hidden. All I used to kind of put that bevel on there was this round grinding bit. So I'll have to go to the hardware store and get some machine screws with an angle head and the accompanying nuts and lock washers and all that good stuff. And we'll be ready to start putting this thing back together. I found I had a blue button, and it's in pretty good shape, so I was thinking about using the blue button. I don't know. I might use the green one. I might use this. I don't know. It doesn't really matter anyway. They're all kind of placeholders, because I'll eventually get new buttons, but for now, this will work. Okay, quick turn on the, well, I put this in my drill and kind of held some sandpaper up to it and some really fine grit and removed all the rust off of the joystick. Gosh, couldn't think of what that was called. I got the buttons in some simple green. I'm going to actually dilute that with a little bit of water, get those good and clean. Get my hardware all squared away. And I'll put my tools up, and tomorrow will be Monday, and I'll head to the hardware store and pick up some screws, put these things all together. Sounds good. Now I'm giving the carriage bolts a little bit of a polishing. You can see they're really kind of a rusted head. So what I'm doing is just kind of loosely putting them in my drill. Don't really cramp down on it, and just kind of get it spinning. Just like that. Just knock the rust off of it. Looks really nice and shiny. I'm doing all of those like that. And I may paint them, I don't know. See, this one's not really all that bad, but I'm going to give it a little bit of a polish. And just like new. This is a 400 grit paper. Very lightly. Just taking the rust off. I'm going to continue to do them all. Nice, that's broken. I guess it doesn't matter. These were nasty. Giving them a good cleaning though. Cleaning up nicely. Springs. It's my actuator thing from my joystick. There's the spring for the joystick. It looks like about it, but it's dirty stuff. Nasty. Alright, very good. Okay, after going through my buttons, I'm going to use, these are my two original fire buttons. And I have these two blue buttons, and they're not exactly the same. This one actually looks like it was just discolored by age. So I got two different blues. Those will be my start buttons. So I got starts and fire. My joystick is all good to go. That's good to go. These carriage bolts are good to go. And I think I'm just going to leave those as they are. I might buy clear coat and clear coat them, but I'm not going to paint them. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a clear Rust-Oleum to keep them from rusting, but I like the silver, just normal, natural finish. So I'll do that so that they won't rust over time. And yeah, so tomorrow is a trip to a hardware store, and then we'll be putting this control panel back together tomorrow. And that will end this part of the video. So we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll get that control panel all squared away. Though this is actually the same road that I've lived on when I was growing up as a kid. And I remember way back in the late 70s when they first paved it. It may have been the very early 80s, like 80 or 81. But I remember when they very first paved my road. And now it's kind of like that again, 40 some years later. Taking a cruise through my town. Like I said, this is the town I grew up in. I really love it here. Mailman. We're almost there after we get through this light. Watch out, lady. And here we are. I'll pull right up into here. Gilroy's. Okay, I'll run in there, grab some screws and nuts and stuff, and I'll be right back. And paint, clear coat. Be right back. Yeah, back home. I got my bolts and the joystick coming through here. And I'm just going to hit these with just a couple coats of this clear. And that will take care of all that. And once they dry, we'll start reassembling the panel. And these are what I picked up at the hardware store for the joystick. You see it's a angle head. I don't know exactly the technical term. Yeah, so those will go right into here like so, nicely. See, nice and kind of countersunk, and the joystick will mount through there. So that'll work perfectly. Those are nicely countersunk. Perfect. Alright, yeah, I put a little protective coating on these guys. Just a couple spray, you know, I did a couple coats. And on this, just clear coated it. Maybe offered a little bit of protection. So it's time. Let's go ahead and put this thing back together. Okie dokie. So first thing we're going to do is, I guess, mount the joystick base, right? I want to move all of my screws up out of the way. Oh, let's just set those over off to the side, get this out of the way. These are all the screws and stuff that I went and picked up today for mounting the joystick. Okay. Oops. I kind of want to just maybe put those in and try to really quickly like that. And I know this will go like so. And I know this is a really tight fit. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to get a washer on this. I don't think I need it, to be honest. I don't really think I need a washer here. No, I don't need that on there. All right. This is actually the perfect size. Surprisingly difficult to get these started. Okay, now I'll grab a let's grab one of these. Okay. And I just want to be able to tighten this down a bit. Good enough. Just making sure that the bolt is not turning. That's perfect. Check that out. It's pretty dirty, ain't it? I don't suppose it too much matters. Okay. Well, I might as well just keep that out because I'm going to need it. Excellent. So the next thing we need to do is mount the control panel over top of this. So let me grab it. Okay, here it is. Let's make sure we put this in here. Dust cover. And our bolts. They fit nicely, and turn it over and we'll get those going. Okay, I am going to want I don't really love that, but I think it'll be alright. These just need to be secured down. They are not really functional. They're more for looks than anything at this point. These ones are. Okay. There. Those are in there now. And they're, like I said, they're more for looks almost for anything. More than anything. And our last four. Okay. Fits perfect. Okay. And then of course they're going to fall out. Well, I guess I'll do one at a time. These ones I'll put the little lock washer in there too. And let's do this one. And a lock washer. Okay. And these two. See if we can't get both of them. Oh goodness. Well, it looks like I need 2 more nuts. I don't have enough nuts. Alright, well we'll do these two will do later. That's disappointing. Well, let's put in the buttons. And let's put in this joystick. What the heck? Boy, that's rusty. That's rusted inside of there. I guess I should have messed around with that. It's very rusty in there. checking things out. That did not go in there right. Again. I gotta grab this. There we go. Jeez. This thing does not want to go in at all. It's just completely rusted and crusted inside of there. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Alright, I'll be back. I'm going to figure out, I might have to take this joystick apart and clean out the innards. So, because this shaft of this joystick won't even hardly go in there anymore. I know it's not from spraying this thing with some of that clear. That shouldn't matter. This thing is just really bad. If I can find my drill, which who knows what I did with that. Let me come back. I gotta find my drill. Okay. It has been found. I actually charged it last night. So let's take this thing apart. Yeah, this thing's a rust. All rusty and crusty inside. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. It's completely rusted and yeah, it's bad. The grommet itself isn't bad. It's just really, really fuzzy and rusty. So I'm going to find something to clean that out and I'll be back. Okay, so I came up with this. It's my Dremel with a sanding bit. Now I wish I had a finer grit, but I don't. So I'm just going to hit it with this and that should fix it up really quick. Holy crap, you see all that dust, that rust dust come out of there? Wow. Well, that's that. It's nice and clean now. Yeah. Good to go. Clean that up really good, so let's get that out of the way. Put this thing back together. There you go. Come on now. Okay, don't need to pinch no wires. There we go. So let's try that again. Okay. Okay, now we need to grab, where's that screwdriver down here? Let's grab this washer and slide it over. There we go. Now it goes up in there really good without an issue. So let's put our joystick spring in this actuator. And the large clip. And the large clip needs to be clipped. There we go. So we now have our large clip on there, so it should be good to go. And there's our joystick, good to go. Okay, buttons. Yeah. So we got our red buttons. Red buttons with the retainer nut, and it just needs to be hand tight. You don't need to Hercules these things on. Of course, if you, there it goes. There we go. Here's the reds and the blues. Got to find a little notch in the thing. Alright, I have to be able to see what I'm doing here. Goodness gracious, that does not want to go in there at all. It doesn't fit. And this one is off center. Huh. That's strange. I think I might need to loosen these bolts up or something, because that hole is not centered. Neither of them are. So let me loosen this panel up on top, and I don't know. I don't know if this is, I don't know what's going on here. Let me figure this out. Alright, well, very strangely, I took the panel back off, and I even tried this original panel on this piece of wood, and it doesn't even line up. The only one that lines up with those holes is the one that was on it, which is very strange. It's almost like they drilled the holes for that. And you can look and see in these holes, you can tell that the one on the right is higher. They just don't match. Very strange, like it was misdrilled or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think I've come up with the idea of kind of widening these so that my button can move. And I'm going to use this to go down in here and just widen this hole out. I'll do both of them so that I can get the buttons in without... I'm not going to be modifying that panel at all. I'm going to modify this to fit that panel. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back. Huh? Huh? What do you think? What do you think? These two are not screwed in. They're just through there. I need to get the 2 bolts. But I got all the buttons in. I had to actually use that same sanding wheel on the Dremel to go around the body of this button so that it would actually go in the panel. And I used that big stepper bit to open these holes up so that they had room to play in that wood so that it would work with the original mounting bolts. So it's good. It's mounted in there. It's latched in. Good to go. And yeah, this looks really super good. Nice. Control panel done, other than getting these bolts secured with nuts on the bottom. Yeah, I got a little bit of the silk screen damaged right there, I think. Yeah, it's okay. It wasn't perfect to begin with, but I want to give a thanks to Ed Beeler at Pinball PA for supplying me with this control panel overlay and the rails for the board, the mounting rails. Ed supplied me with that stuff. Yeah, Ed Beeler. Check out Pinball PA. He had an enormous pinball and video arcade there in Pennsylvania. One of these days I'm going to get down there. I'm telling you, I'm going to get down there one of these days. But thank you for all that you have done for me here, along with everybody who has sent me stuff for this. I believe, yeah. Very sweet. Looking good. Okay. Next thing is, next video, we will put a power cord on this thing and start doing some firing up. Seeing if this board set works at all. I think the first thing I'll do is I'll refurb the power supply before we do any of that. So let me look and make sure I've got caps. I don't know if I've got caps for this power supply. I probably don't. So I'll have to get a kit for this supply. I'll put a new 5-volt regulator in it so that we'll have new fresh power. And yeah, we'll be ready to fire this board set up and see what it does. Alright guys, see you on part numero 4. 1350, number 1350. How about that? Alright, we'll see ya.